I will say, however, you know, despite the 8 years of, has it been 8 years? 7 years of doing this program, and I just got to over 100 subscribers on YouTube. I don't know if you would call that embarrassing or downright impressive, but regardless, I'm very happy with this subscriber amount thus far. I know we're only going to continue to grow as this program continues on its very weird footsteps, I guess you would call it. I think it's one of those unicyclist types of movements where you're on a unicycle and you're trying to keep your balance. Sometimes you fall over, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you stay balanced, and sometimes you don't. However, you always seem to get a laugh out of someone who's riding a unicycle. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan Cruz, and I'm coming to you from the beaches of lovely Long Island, New York. It is time to BS, part of the Belly of Sports and Belly Media Networks. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Threads at Samuel Smooth. Follow the show for clips and content on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Time to BS Podcast. And you can also subscribe to the podcast YouTube page for various clips and full shows when they're out there and stuff like that. I will also say, before we go off the deep end and stuff like that, I have been getting a lot of good feedback on, the show as a whole and how I've decided to change some, different little tidbits here and there, depending on who you may ask. I have this nasty habit to where I drag on things for too long. And it may take me 15, 20 minutes for me to get my point across when my point was already made 2 minutes into that 20 minutes. So, from now on, I'm going to do better. Call it what you want. Oh, you're dragging this on for too long, Dan. Why are you doing that? Why are you dragging on, useless conversations for too long? I don't know why I do that. Maybe it's to get a useless point across. That for some reason that point was already made. But regardless, here we are. And I come to you with a somber note to begin the program. I was not an avid watcher of Duck Dynasty. I did watch a few episodes of Duck Dynasty. I've since come across clips of this man on various social media platforms, and it's sad to report that Phil Robertson passed away about a week or so ago at the age of 79. He gave some very, very good, valuable life lessons. One of them that has been popping up like crazy lately all over the TikTok machine has been to keep life simple. God has given us this great place to live, and we'll try to make things too complicating than they already are. Just try your best to keep life simple. Do your best and everything humanly possible to keep life and everything simple. So, we're going to go over a few things. We got 2 new segments to talk about. We have Smooth Talk, which is something I've usually been doing in terms of just giving, motivational, inspirational talk. I tried to be the bro Yoda here in this discussion. And the Debate Cave, which is where at the end of the show, before the final thoughts, I will go over a debate topic. And I will try my best to not drag it on for 45 minutes. Challenge level impossible, I guess, but we'll never know. I bet some of you are probably going,
"Oh, brother, this guy stinks!"
Maybe. Sometimes I do stink, but you know what I say about that?
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
This is serious.
I know. This really is the world's smallest violin. See?
But with that being said, let's go over to film school, shall we? Where did I put you? I want to preface this by saying I did not watch this movie. I have no intentions of watching this movie. But it is the new Lilo and Stitch live action film. The comments that I've seen on this particular film have been alarming. So much so that it is downright hilarious to see. Apparently, this movie was not necessarily a full-blown remake. It was a redo. And it wasn't good. Let's go over what I have read through the cesspool that is Twitter and Reddit. The internet as a whole is a cesspool. And let's go over some things. First of all, Captain Gantu, who was the villain in the original film, was not even in this movie. What? Impossible, you may say. He is the villain of the original Lilo and Stitch film. Why, yes, random citizen, you are correct. Captain Gantu was not in this film. Jumba was the villain. One of the most delightful characters in the animated film was the villain. You know, the mad scientist. Please explain this to me, how you can mess this up so easily. Please explain this to me. How is it that you, being Disney... Oh, wait, I forgot. I just answered my own question. You're Disney. You ruin most things you touch. Don't believe me? Star Wars. But with that being said, I'm going to spoil the movie for you. So if you don't want to hear it, I apologize. CPS takes Lilo at the end of the movie, which completely ruins the entire point of the word remake of this movie. I want to go back to Captain Gantu. He is such a big-time character. You know what this reminds me of? It's like remaking The Neverending Story. Have you seen that movie? You remember The Neverending Story, right? I'm sure anyone over the age of 30 understands this movie. It's like you remake The Neverending Story and not include Falcor. Do you see the stupidity fest that enters this room? Do you see what has transpired here in the world of Disney? You, Disney, have decided, hey, we're going to remake Lilo and Stitch in live-action CGI. Okay? We're going to do this. But we're going to completely backpedal and not include a major character in this story and completely rewrite the entire story of Lilo and Stitch. Remake it. The entire story of Lilo and Stitch is completely thrown down the drain, flushed down the toilet, never to be seen again, hopefully seen with the fishes. Speaking of fishes, there was a Lilo and Stitch theme tattoo I saw on Twitter of a fish holding a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a peanut butter sandwich. And it was delightful. It was scrumptious and amazing and adorable at the same time. But I'm getting off track. I don't want to see this movie. Not because of the fact that Disney over the last 10 years? Something like that. Has basically ruined most things that they touch. Again, Star Wars. See, The Acolyte for details. I'm sorry The Acolyte stunk. Why do you think it was canceled? How do you not include Captain Gantu? That annoys the crap out of me. I'm going too far down the rabbit hole. Just annoys me. Just keep it simple. Good Lord. The New York Islanders have hired a new GM. I talked about this last show. I want to apologize because, yes, I was very quiet, but that's only because that my lovely fiance was... She's got back issues, and every now and then a pinched nerve enters the room, and she needed a rest, so I was being quiet, so I apologize. I don't like to explain myself, but here I am. The New York Islanders are in a bit of a weird... I don't know if you would call it a pickle, but like a neat little problem. So they have the first overall pick, courtesy of the draft lottery. Say what you want, being rigged, whatever, I don't care. They have a new general manager, Matthew Darsh. Okay, let's go over the introductory press conference. Already right out of the gate, he included the fans in this equation. Hey, I want to give the fan base a winner. I want to give this fan base, this loyal, passionate, sometimes rambunctious as crap fan base, a Stanley Cup. I want to bring a 5th cup to Long Island. And he said, on Long Island, and I said, I am in. You know what? Guns a-blazing, America, bleep, yeah, let's go. Let's go do some crazy stuff. But then he also re-signed Kyle Palmieri to a 2-year deal under $5 million. Before you say anything and say this was an overpayment, keep in mind here, Palmieri was top 5 in scoring for the Islanders. So, before you Islander fan base people lose your marbles and say they overpaid on Palmieri, he was one of their better players. And Adam Boquist signed for a 1-year extension. So, yay, good stuff. But going back to the first overall pick, the Islanders have 2 options. 2? 1? 2? Thing? Brain? They got 2 options. They can either take defenseman Matthew Schaefer, who many are picking to be the number 1 overall prospect, or centerman and Long Island's own from Hauppauge, New York, James Higgins. Now, let's also be clear here. I am a fan of this club. I am in no way, shape, or form the general manager or hired by the Islanders to make these decisions. I do not get paid tens of millions of dollars to run a sports team. I'd be terrible at it. Just being real. I'd be terrible at it. Me under that tremendous amount of pressure? God, no. God, no. Just...
No, God!
I made my point. Already. So, if I were to say, like, hey, who should they take? I would like Higgins, I'm not gonna lie. But at the same point, it's not my decision, not my call. I am very excited to see, the new era, as you would call it, and rather he's including the fans, he's including the coaches, he's including the players involved. He's the media as well, like that's rare. He's trying to be more hands-on with the fan base and what made the Islanders great. Which is great to see. It's really good to see. So I'm very excited to see what they do. I'm very pumped to see how Darcy, conducts his business. Have at you. But I'm very pumped to see what they do. Before we go and jump off and into expectation land and say, oh, the Islanders are going to win the Stanley Cup, blah, blah, blah. Let's settle down, people. It's May? It's May 30th as we're recording, so I guess it's June. depending on who you ask. So we got some more hockey stuff to get to, but we have to take a mandatory break because, as we've said before numerous times, I gotta change. So I want to apologize again because there's an ad page that I'm gonna play, and it's gonna have the old logos on it. So I apologize in advance. I'm gonna change it whenever I get the chance. Blah 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 blah. You know what this deal? This show ain't free, so time for some ads. This show ain't free, so time for some ads.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
That is right, you crazies. Use the promo code BELLYUP in all caps for 15% off your order of various flavors of beef jerky at RighteousFelon.com. That is promo code BELLYUP in all caps for 15% off your order of various flavors of great jerky, by the way, at RighteousFelon.com. I did also say that we get more hockey stuff involved in there. First, I want to congrats the Edmonton Oilers for reaching their first, back-to-back Western Conference champions are the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers, winners of 3 straight Eastern Conference titles. So there's that. The Seattle Kraken have made a coaching hire. They have decided to bring along former Islanders coach Lane Lambert to be the head boss up in Seattle. I will admit, I was not particularly fond of the Lane Lambert firing of Lane over here on Long Island. I will say that I will admit that. However, after now a couple years of thinking about it, was the right move, but also was a bad timing depending on who you ask, because Lane was also taking over for Barry Trotz after he got fired as well. The Kraken, in this regard, have a lot of, I guess you would call it, good to okay talent. Most notably, Joey Decord, their starting goaltender, Matty Beniers, Jordan Eberle, who's their captain, Jared McCann. They have good pieces. Shane Wright. And they have the 4th overall pick in this upcoming entry-level draft. I am very fascinated to see how Lane does up in Seattle. This may help him long-term because, let's be honest here. The Kraken are not really going to go anywhere anytime soon. They might. They very well might. But Dan Bylsma, in his defense, say what you want, Penguins fans, was not really given a fair shot in Seattle to really show what he can do. Now, this is also a franchise that has went through Dave Haxtell, who stunk, and Dan Bylsma, who... Say what you want, again, he's not the worst coach in the world, but he's inconsistent. So, it is what it is. It is that it is, depending on who you say. And I want to see Lane do well, because aside from the Islanders, I'm kind of turning into a full-blown Seattle sports fan. Which, again, say what you want, but that's just... My preference, people. So, I want to get into this because the new segment I wanted to get to is called Smooth Talk, or one of the 2 segments I wanted to get to. And Smooth Talk was originally called Bro Yoda, a moment with Bro Yoda, which, for those who don't know, it's a weird character that was created for me. Because I'm a Star Wars junkie and I like Yoda and I like his lessons and stuff like that. It's a movie, I get it, but let me have my fun, please. And, you know, I think there is a weird way we like to handle certain things. You know, we like to let the past take control of us. Or we don't like it, it just happens. So, I will also say that it's okay to not be okay. But the past is the past, and don't let it consume you whole. There comes a point in your life where you need to let the past just be what it is. The past. Let it all go. Obviously, it's easier said than done. Because, you know, childhood trauma or generational trauma or like abuse or various other things. Like, I get it. I get it. But life isn't easy, but doesn't have to be hard. You know, let's turn it back and say, you're suffering from trauma of mistakes that you made. You can forgive yourself for the mistakes that you made. When the past begins, when your past, whether it was by your fault or someone else's hand, begins to consume your everyday life, you're no longer living in today. You live in yesterday. You can forgive yourself for everything that happened, whether either you did something stupid or they did something stupid to you. You can forgive yourself or forgive them for what happened. It's okay. Obviously, different situations apply. Holding on to those bad memories will turn into regret and later consume your mind, body, and then your soul. You're doing great. Just keep it up. Again, obviously different situations apply. I don't want to sound like the arrogant little crap, but living a life constantly worried about you know, your past, that isn't living. That's just torture. And I can speak from experience that there comes a point where your memories, the bad memories, are no longer just bad memories, they're full-blown nightmares. That's a dangerous thing. That's a dangerous game to be a part of. Very dangerous game. So, with that being said, we're going to take another quick break, really quick, hear from our friends over at SeatGeek, and then we'll go right into ring time. So, with that being said, you know what this deal is. This show ain't free. This show ain't free. So time for some ads.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at Belly Up Sports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
That's right, friends. You can use, where is it? Promo code BellyUpSports in all caps to get $20 off first purchase at SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app. Promo code BellyUpSports in all caps to get $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. All right, thanks to our friends over at SeatGeek for sponsoring this podcast and Belly Up Sports and Belly Up Media. So, what time is it, lads? You know what time it is? It's ring time! Welcome to Ring Time, ladies and gentlemen. You know, weekly we like to talk wrestling around here. Sometimes we'll talk more wrestling than most. Sometimes it's the whole stinking show. But regardless, we are talking wrestling. So, Jesus, acid reflux likes to get the better of me. We'll start off by talking some WrestleMania news. So, it was announced earlier in the year that New Orleans was hosting WrestleMania 42. Mania 41 was in Vegas. It is now becoming increasingly more likely that Las Vegas is going to host the event again. Before you throw your pitchforks and torches up in the air and say, screw WWE and Triple H, this may have been more of a TKO decision than anything. I don't know what goes on there. I have no idea. I don't think any of us know. However, it will also be said that you announce the event and then you backpedal and say, we're probably going to go back to Vegas. Maybe because Las Vegas offered you more money. It's a weird business deal. By the way, I should also add that Money in the Bank in 2026 is going to New Orleans. New Orleans is going to host Mania. They're a phenomenal wrestling city. New Orleans is a great wrestling city. It really is. And it sucks. I feel bad for them that they won't get to host next year's Mania. It stinks. I get it. It's a business decision. I understand it. But overall, it's a really, really, really bleep move by TKO and WWE to do this kind of ordeal. We now move on to one of the great debates going around in the wrestling world. And that's John Cena in his 17th world title reign. Is it a dud? Yes. Is it, what it's made out to be? Which is, hey, he's going to ruin wrestling. I think this goes back into play of, I think this whole, how would I word this carefully? The best summarize this reign would be to look at this and go, sometimes the expectations of fans can be too dang high. Sometimes your hopes can be too dang high. And I'm not saying you just take it and shove it down your throat the way it is, because then it becomes disgusting. And then you never know what you're eating. But this 17th world title reign that was supposed to be the last reign of John Cena's career has been a dud. It's been an absolute dud from the get-go. Even before when he won the world title, before he won the championship, the whole heel run has been a complete dud. It's almost like, hey, maybe there's a reason why he never wanted to turn heel besides the Make-A-Wish kids. And it's a shame because I was never a Cena guy. I've wanted Cena to turn heel for years. It's great that we saw Cena turn heel. But it almost seems like he's going to drop the belt really soon. Which stinks, but it's almost like it's the best thing that they could do right now. Which is have Cena drop the belt to either Cody or Punk. Whatever happens is it's probably going to be Cody at SummerSlam, but this is one of those wait and see because, trust the stinking process, I guess you could put it that way. Next up, we have two call-ups. The first of the two major NXT call-ups is former TNA Knockouts champion, 3-time champion, I believe, Jordan Grace is getting called up from NXT very, 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 very soon, and will join SmackDown. I have been a very big fan of Jordan Grace for a number of years. She reminds me of, take this with a grain of salt, please, people, a female Brock Lesnar. Out of context, it's like, she's not a man. I'm like, what? No shit. It's what I mean is she's a physical specimen. She's good in the ring. She can talk ish, depending on who you ask. But this is one of those, like, oh my god, the rest of the talent on SmackDown on the women's side is not particularly great outside of Tiff and maybe 3 other women. We need help badly, because it can't just be Nia Jax, Naomi, Bianca, Tiff, Jade on a repeating cycle of stupid for years. It can't just be that. And I don't want to be like the whole out the old in with the new kind of thing, because those releases, it stinks that those firings did happen to that talent. I'm not in favor of anyone losing their job over anything. But Jordan Grace is a star. She is a full-blown star. And she could be in the world title picture of the women's divisions very, very, very soon. And that's exciting because I like TNA. Next up and this time on Raw, Stephanie Vaquer, who is former NXT Women's Champion, former NXT North American Champion. Is this the quickest that anyone's ever been called up to from NXT to the main roster in like ever? I don't know, but like she is so dang good. And it helps that she's good looking too, but listen, I can look at the menu. I don't want to order off the menu. And also I can't because I don't want to. Because, I'm loyal and I love my wife. I'm not even married to her yet, but, I call her my wife anyway. Love you, babe. And Stephanie Vaquer is also one of those women that can draw. She can talk. Granted with broken English, but she can talk. She's also stupid good in the ring. Booker T is very disappointed that Steph is being called up. Where is it? Where is it? If you get that joke or reference, you're awesome. But, yay. Happy for Steph. I will also like to point out that there is a former AEW Women's World Champion on the way to WWE very, very soon. Mariah May, who is... She's what, 26, 25, I think she is? She's young for her wrestling in-ring experience. She's been in AEW for 2 years. And it is all likelihood that she's going to skedaddle from Guantanamo Bay and join WWE very soon. Whether it's on the main roster in NXT, she's going to thrive. She's good in the ring. She can talk. She's comfortable behind the microphone, too. She's not, like, stupid awkward. She's good in front of the mic. She's good in front of the microphone. Good for her. That's awesome. But I also want to point this out here. Before the angry comments come after me and say, Dan, you're just a WWE fan. I mentioned TNA before. TNA has made multiple mistakes over the course of their over 20 years of existence. Some company threatening, Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, Ric Flair for details. Some of them were godsends to them. Josh Alexander, AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, the aforementioned Jordan Grace. Say what you want. Tessa Blanchard. They're all really good. AEW, while I was initially all in favor of what they were doing, of making it a very creative, wrestler-based, creative team. Like, it's not just a lead booker and then you have to go as the booker or the head of creative goes. It goes also by what the wrestlers have to say, too. What the talent has to say. Chris Jericho, the Young Bucks. And at first it was like, okay, they have something going for them. And when they brought CM Punk back from wrestling exile, I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked from the get-go. And it was nice to see. It stings knowing that a company that has, done well in their first 3 or 4 years of existence has sort of plummeted the way that they have. And this is not a hating on AEW thing. This is hey, I'm genuinely worried. Because when one of your top female talents in Mariah May is basically jumping ship to WWE, not because of the fact, or not just because of the fact that she can get better opportunities at WWE, but also because she was probably offered a gigantic pile of cash from Tony Khan. She just didn't want to take it. That's probably what I'm guessing. I don't have any sources that would tell me this, but that's what I would guess. And sooner or later, you'll start to see the likes of Wardlow, maybe MJF down the road. Maybe unlikely to happen, but a Swerve Strickland. Again, unlikely to happen, but you know what But what I'm saying is, you'll start to see some of that homegrown talent that they brought along. We've already saw with Ricky Starks, now Ricky Saints, Ethan Page. We're seeing it more and more, where this young, up-and-coming, homegrown talent that the AEW has brought along for the ride is jumping ship for bigger fish. And I'm happy for Mariah, because dang, she's good. And this is more of a concern, not a hateful thing towards AEW. Because at the end of the day, I want to see them do well. I want to see them do well. I really, 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 really do. And it stings because they shoot themselves in the foot multiple times because of stupid decisions. That was ring time. We're going to close up shop, but after this one debate topic. So, welcome to the Debate Cave, a new segment dedicated to embracing debate, whether it's, with just myself or with others. And I know what the topic is. I know what the question is, but I am basically going into this cold, which is I'm going to try and answer this question as, not complicated, but more of the matter of fact of, hey, let's see how much information I can get out in a span of 5 minutes. So the question here is, what are some great ways to save money and teach long-term wealth? To quote Dave Ramsey, dead is dumb, cash is king. And the whole term of long-term wealth is kind of redundant, to be honest here, because what does that even mean? What does long-term wealth even mean? What does the word wealth even mean? Like, some people for some people, wealth means an abundance of money. For certain people, wealth is, a wife, a husband, family, kids, a house, cars, For others, it's just, hey, being grateful to live. So we're going to talk about the whole wealth thing as money. I think the whole concept of, hey, how you can save money is you build a budget. You take your weekly or bi-weekly paycheck and you try to budget that out over the course of a week or a course of 2 weeks towards bills, towards, weekly spending, whether it's, Dunkin' or Starbucks or groceries or gas, and then put some money into savings, and then a majority of your money should go towards your bills. And the whole term of, like, cash is king is very real, because there's, cash discounts at gas stations and whatever. But there's also there's this weird premise that, my brain just froze, but I will also admit that it is way easier to spend and harder to save money when it is in cash. That's just in my personal experience. I like seeing everything. That's how I like, seeing my money. Some people may view it differently. Now, I do enjoy cash. I love cash. I do. But there's also some things I'm trying to work on in terms of saving money. And that's just keep cash stowed away for the rainy day fund, as some people may say. But also write down where your money's going. Write down where your money's going. And if you can't afford to pay it with cash or on the debit card, you don't stink and buy it. You don't stink and buy it. Now, that applies to everything. That applies to trips, that applies to movies, that applies to music or going out to eat or go-karts or something like that. It's, in my case, it's gaming. Like, if I can't afford to put it on the debit card or in cash, I do not buy it. I will also admit that, I do have a little bit of a spending issue, but I'm getting a little bit better at it as day by day goes. But also this mindset of like, oh, if I do this in X period of time, I will build wealth. You have time. You have time. Particularly if you're in your early 20s or teens, or if you're a late teenager in your early or mid 20s, you have, especially your 30s, Jesus, you have time. You have time. Even if you're single or getting married, like, you have time. You're not going to become a millionaire by the time you're 40 or 50. But you also got to learn to save, and you might become a millionaire if you learn to save. You learn to save, I don't know, $50 a week. $50 a week for 52 weeks is $2,700. $100 every week for a year is $5,000. Think about that for a second here. You can also turn it into investing, or you could turn it into a high yield savings. You could do all sorts of stuff that will help grow your cash. It will help everything grow. But when you're trying to teach, wealth, I don't think it's, so much as, building money, is more of the fact of, hey, this is how it's not as much of a fact of like, hey, this is what I can teach you to become, because this is how I became wealthy. It's more taught about like, hey, this is how you work to get to that point, because it's going to take time. And you have to work to get to that point. So that's my whole thing. So we're going to close up shop. I appreciate every single one of you for tuning into this program. It's been 7+ years of this whole thing. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for every single one of you that has decided to tune into the show, subscribe to the show, follow the show, everything. And you have continued to support this nonsense. And I appreciate every single one of you for continuing to join this journey. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan Cruz. I'm coming to you from the beaches of lovely Long Island, New York. This has been Time to BS, and I will see you all in this life and most certainly the next one. Cheers, guys.